Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Hey, psst. Hey, you see that Snickers over there? If no one's looking, you should just take it.
No! Don't listen to him, my son. That would be stealing, and stealing is a sin.
Sin Schmin, it's a friggin' Snickers bar. You deserve to have it. Sinning really satisfies you.
Repent, my child. Virtue is the only real snack worth savoring. For that candy bar is merely a gateway to nougat damnation. Has this ever happened to you?
Listening to the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you're not sure what to think?
Then we're here to help. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III, and this season on All the Feelings, we're examining the 7 deadly sins.
You know, the fun ones.
And the 7 heavenly virtues.
Which are also a thing. Through personal stories, historical oddities, and way too much embarrassment, we take you on a thrilling journey through all the goods and the bads you hear about in church.
But without all that pesky church stuff. So come join us for All the Feelings Season 9, a sometimes funny podcast about being human. All the sins, all the virtues.
All in one place. Go to allthefeelings.fun to learn more, or subscribe to All the Feelings wherever you get your podcasts.
Game over.
Horror movies get a bad rap. They're cheap thrills, mindless gore, not cinema, blah, blah, blah.
But we here at Sitting in the Dark know better. We know that horror is more than just jump scares and chainsaws. It's a reflection of our deepest fears, our anxieties, Okay, and there's a lot of jump scares and chainsaws.
Join us, Pete Wright, Tommy Metz III, Kyle Olson, and Keenan Diaz, as we cut into the dark heart of horror cinema.
Every episode, we explore a different facet of the genre, from survival horror to home invasions, from zombies to birds. We tickle the tropes, analyze the angles, and sharpen our own axes along the way.
We'll introduce you to the classics that shaped the genre.
Then the modern masterpieces that are pushing the boundaries of terror.
Sitting in the Dark is your guide to navigating the terrifying, thrilling, and sometimes hilariously bad world of horror movies.
We'll help you understand why we love to be scared.
And maybe even convert you into a horror fan yourself.
So turn off the lights, close the basement door,
and join us.
Sitting in the dark.
Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a weekly podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 5-minute segments and then examine them in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Storywell podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco and Kyle.
Yes, Rob.
We live in a world of pop culture mega franchises. I'm talking the big stuff, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Barbie. Let's say I compiled a list. Estimating.
There's been one movie I you included Barbie on that.
Barbie.
List.
Well, I got a couple different things. I tried to do a couple different things there. Star Wars. Yeah.
I got you.
No, you got it. You know what I'm doing. All right. So let's say I made a list, thanks to our friends at Wikipedia, and this was their overall revenue. Everything they've made, things like tickets, merchandise, licensing, the whole 9 yards. What if I told you there were 36 different media franchises that have a gross lifetime revenue of over $10 billion.
Now I understand why you've included Barbie on that list.
Yes.
I happen to know that my daughter is a particular fan of all the different Barbie animated movies there have been.
You know, and
wow, that's a lot. Combining all of the things.
Over 10 billion, 36 different ones at the time of recording. What if I told you that number 4 on the list was Star Wars? With
Star Wars is at 4?
At 4 with almost $47 billion. Number 3 is Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, well, he's had a long time.
A long time and a lot of merch and books and everything, right? And movies with almost 49 billion. Number 2 is our little friend Mickey Mouse.
Of course.
With over
now in the public domain.
Public domain. He's flirting with the horror movie genre now.
Ugh, I know.
61 billion. What do you think is number 1?
Wow. I mean, it would have to be something with that kind of longevity because you'd have to to have that sort of run, because both of those, Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse, have had 100-year runs essentially, or
Sure.
75 years. What else is out there that is that popular? I guess probably something adorable. I'm trying to think of how left field would this have to be? Like, are we talking like Curious George or Betty Boop or something? But
you know what's amazing?
Still relevant today, right?
Yeah, it's still relevant.
Not
Okay, and
Marvel,
think about this,
right?
No, and I told you, Star Wars 47 billion, Winnie the Pooh 49 billion, Mickey Mouse 61 billion. What if I told you the number one was at almost 99 billion?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can't think of anything that has that sort of cultural penetration.
It's Pokemon. Now.
Wow, man. Talk about an up and comer.
Okay. And I say all that, and you say, Rob, get to the point. What is the point here? Yeah. Let me tell you what number 20 is on that list right after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's Dora the Explorer.
Oh, Dora.
It's Dora with nearly $16 billion. Why do I bring this up? In a strange twist of fate, we will be talking about Miss Dora.
That's right.
In this episode.
If there's a place you got to go,
well,
I'm the one you need to know. And that's right here on the Marvel Movie Minute, as we're talking about Iron Man 3 from 2013, directed by Shane Black, written by Shane Black and Drew Pearce. Here we are picking up at minute 46, where Tony is in the garage of Harley, and they're hanging out. Oh, I should have mentioned before that we did this, that this is an actual location that they built. Like what we're seeing is a set, but essentially it was modeled after a real place that is located at 117 West South Street in Rose Hill, North Carolina. So though things are taking place in Tennessee, they actually shot this in North Carolina, and they went by and found a place that they loved so much that they just recreated that place. But so if you drive by, it looks familiar. Obviously, things have changed in the last 10 plus years. But
that has happened a lot in this movie, where they have recreated things. We talked about this with the beach bar, at like in an earlier episode, where they like something so much they're like, okay, we're not going to go there. We're just going to make it ourselves.
Yeah, and actually that will continue on right up until like the actual the climactic battle has a similar thing with that. So they're in the middle of a conversation where Tony and Harley are sort of getting to know each other. And so Tony has already said something already inappropriate, which you could go back to episode 9 if you want to hear that. But he is continuing on and says, here's what I need: a laptop, a digital watch, a cell phone, the pneumatic actuator from your bazooka over there. I think it means the spud gun that we're talking about.
Gun, yes.
Yeah. A map of town, a big spring, and a tuna fish sandwich.
Okay.
Let's break that down. Okay. Laptop, that's obvious. Like, of course, the digital watch. Okay, sure. Like you want to keep time on other things. Cell phone. Yep, absolutely. Like you've had access to phones. I don't know why like it is, but pneumatic actuator. So that's interesting. So I had to look this up to find out what this was. So according to Wikipedia, pneumatic actuators are devices that convert the energy of compressed air or gas into a mechanical motion that regulates one or more final control elements. Yeah, that's the piece that makes the spud go boom.
Yeah. Super fast.
So maybe we'll have to keep an eye on this list of like when do these things come in, because laptop obviously looks up stuff. Sure. Digital watch will become important later. Cell phone. Sure. The Mac actuator of your bazooka. That one will have to pin because we'll see when that comes in. The map of town. Sure. Like he's going to be going around the town and stuff too. The big spring. Another one to pin. I'm not sure exactly where that comes back in, so we'll have to keep an eye out for where that is. And then the tuna fish sandwich, which I don't know that he's ever going to get. It's like the power converters that Luke was supposed to pick up.
What do you think about that?
All the adventures that happened, and the tuna fish sandwich is still sitting on.
Now listen, and by the way, with all apologies to our friends in Tennessee, listen, we know every place is great, right? But like, I don't know, that sounds tuna fish sandwich.
Every place is great and strong, but yes, you're right. Yeah, that's in Tennessee, so
I just want to say that request has chimes of the sushi at an airport restaurant. Like maybe peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like that one.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, but I mean, there's as here's another dated reference. As Jessica Simpson has told us, there is still the chicken of the sea.
Oh my God!
Right? So I imagine just getting Charlie the tuna and getting it from the can.
I know, but then you got to deal with the mayonnaise. You got to deal with how much. You got to deal with the smell.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. That's part of the having tuna fish sandwich. Tuna fish is brain food.
I think it's a little. And Tony, that's what Tony needs right now. I think what you're seeing here layout is a very this playful yet also interesting attitude from Tony, and I actually think the tuna fish sandwich is like the little and a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah, right. That's and a partridge in a pear tree at the end of his list. So, but this is what I like about Harley is he immediately comes back for what's in it for me. Oh, nice! Like you got a billionaire on your couch. Like, hey man, now's the time. I like it. I like the hustle. And Harley says salvation.
That's amazing. But yes.
Yeah, and then this is what I love about RDJ and the way he does Tony Stark is then in the same line without even taking a breath, he goes, salvation, what's his name? And it was like, what? And the kid goes, who? And he says, the kid that bullies you at school, what's his name? And Harley says, how'd you know that? So that's interesting. Like he already does. And apparently there was something in the, like this scene was longer. Apparently they say in the commentary, there was something that led Tony to that. That got cut and so too, but he just figures it out. So wow, like interesting that he immediately picks up on that kind of thing.
Well, also kid who's clearly mechanically inclined.
Yeah,
dad is not here.
Yeah,
and it's Christmas time. He's by himself. He can make some assumptions.
Yeah. Did you have a bully? We don't have to get deep into.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, yeah. I mean, many. This was not a. We know who we are. It's fine.
Exactly. That's why when people are complaining about Marvel movies and all this kind of stuff, I was like, you don't know what we had to go through to be fans. Like I'm so happy that now it's a mainstream thing that everybody loves Star Wars and loves it, and that's why I never really can get really down on all of this stuff because I'm like, you don't know what we went through to get here. Like if I talking about Thanos in school, I'd hear about it from everybody, you know. But now you go Thanos and people are like, all the thing, it was awesome. So
Star Wars
come a long way, baby.
Obviously, Star Wars changed that because everybody was into Star Wars. So like for the most part. So I mean, like you had that, but then there were still things like if you've journeyed outside of the mainstream pop culture, that's when you would So Tony sees this. He gets it.
So we can spot our own. And so he says, I got just the thing. And he goes to the Mark 42 suit and opens something and takes out this little cylinder, which I also love, is branded. Like it's got the colors of Iron Man 2. Like, hey, you know what? Of course, why not?
More mustard than ketchup.
That's right, more mustard than ketchup. This is a piñata for a cricket. This is a piñata for a cricket. Okay, so piñata because something's going to come out of it,
right?
And the bully is the cricket?
I don't think that was meant. I think it was meant as a gibberish.
Large to small?
Yeah, misdirection.
Okay.
I'm just trying to confuse you and sound cool. Because then he goes right into it. He immediately discounts it.
Yeah, he says, I'm kidding. It's a very powerful weapon. Point it away from your face. Press the button on top. It discourages bullying. Non-lethal, just to cover one's ass. So then... Harley reaches out like, oh, sweet. And then Tony like moves it away from him. They do a little keep away and he's saying, deal? What do you say? And then Harley says, deal. Because, of course, if freaking Tony Stark going to give you a piece of technology to go after your bully, hell yeah. Take it. Take whatever deal he wants. Get him that sandwich.
Yeah. And the spring and the laptop.
And all that stuff. Yeah. So he gives him the deterrent, whatever that is, and it says, what's your name? And this is the first time that Harley says, he says, Harley. So let's talk about that. So Harley can be used for boys or girls. I sort of looked this up. The name comes from the Old English word hara, meaning hair, and lea, meaning wood or clearing or meadow. So it actually his name Harley means hare's meadow. So take from that what you will. But it became popular in the year 1880 But then, mostly for boys. Then in 1991, it suddenly surged up with women and became a really, really popular, and has been since then. Can you think of what cultural phenomenon might have happened in that time, Rob? As we were talking about in 1991, suddenly the first name of Harley became extremely popular amongst women.
Okay, so wait a minute. The only two things I can think of.
Parents were naming their children Harley.
Right.
Sorry,
okay. So when you tell me Harley, what are the two? What do you think of? I only think of two things: Harley Davidson and Harley Quinn.
There you go. You got
right?
it.
That's it.
That's it. So Harley Quinn debuted in that time period.
Oh.
Right, like
really?
Between 91 and 92. That's when her first episode aired, and then she, became a huge thing around it. So all the nerdy fans who were young and having kids were like, Harley.
And then that was replaced later on with Monica.
Yes.
Right?
I'm sure we could trace all the way through. Not a lot of girls named Pepper. So that did not have quite the appeal. I mean, I think maybe you could maybe there's a statistical thing we should have somebody be looking up. And like in 2009, after Iron Man 1 came out, were there more girls being named Pepper?
Yeah, I've never met a Pepper.
There's already a lot of Tony, so I don't think you could really. That's not.
I've listened to a Peppa, but not.
Like Salt and?
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
I thought you were going to say Peppa Pig.
No. See, that's past my childhood.
But I bet you they might be on that list that you had just much further down. Yes. So so then after Harley introduces himself, he says, and Tony Stark says, the mechanic. And he says, Tony. And then they look at each other, and there's a beat, and he says, you know what keeps going through my head? Where's my sandwich?
Make no mistake, Robert Downey Jr., the delivery of all of this dialogue is just absolutely spotless. Yeah. It is pristine. He just does it incredibly well. Yeah. But explain to me, what is the I've never understood this.
What?
Why is he obscuring who he is? What is the character purpose of that?
No, I mean, at that point, Harley is literally sitting on the couch with one of Iron Man's fingers on his hand.
He showed him the paper. He showed him the newspaper saying you're dead. He knows who he is. Yeah. What is the issue here?
I said that's it. He doesn't say. Harley doesn't ask him what his name is. He says, and you are and you're. It's but
he knows who he is.
He knows who he is. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. So I don't get that part. I don't know why it is. Just because they wanted to have him say the mechanic. You didn't need to have Harley ask him. You could have just had Tony say, and I'm the mechanic, but you can call me Tony.
And I got to tell you, this even when I first saw this movie, I was like, I don't fully understand this. Is this, now seeing it again and obsessing over it?
Yeah.
Is this a character like Tony's having a bit of a, shall we say, an identity crisis?
Sure.
And is this him actually putting it out there like, I am not going to say the words, I'm Tony Stark. And this harkens back to Iron Man 1, where he famously ends the movie with I'm Iron Man.
Yeah.
He sees himself as more Iron Man than he does Tony Stark. And I think what he sees as Tony Stark, as we have now continuously seen, whereas Iron Man is seen as invincible, Tony Stark is not. And is this him basically acknowledging that and saying, man, if I don't actually say my name, it won't be real? Ooh.
I like it. I was thinking, so earlier on, it was about the iron, but now it's about the man.
Oh my God. You could say that.
You got super deep, and I just went for the obvious joke.
No, but I mean, I think that's what it is. And I don't think I ever realized it until this viewing of the movie, that where this didn't make sense. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You know who you are. You all know you know who he is.
You know who he is.
But that's what it is. I think it is part of the character development in this movie.
I mean, we started this movie with "You know who I am,"
like right? There we go.
I mean, so end of 46. As we roll into 47, we cut back to Tony's house, which is now surrounded by emergency rescue crews, news reporters, and a 1998 Ford Crown Victoria, the police car that's on the side there. But I gotta say, it's a crane shot. Coming over the top of the police. I couldn't. The car database did not tell me what were the particular fire engines. So you'll have to figure out that on your own. So there's some homework for you people as you're waiting for episode 11 to drop. The camera pans down past the police, all the people, and like you see the wreckage and everything all the way to, and then it comes down to ground level, and it's this beautiful shot through the wreckage of Pepper standing out looking out there. It's like a painting, like her just silhouetted in the light of the construction crews looking out over the water.
Yes, minus one piece of distraction that I still can't stop seeing. There is one of the agents or whatever that walks through the scene, and he is whimsically in his hand walking with what is either a rolled extension cord or like a caution tape dispenser.
Okay.
And I could not find what it was, but it literally just had me, it gave me Cloud City vibes of ice cream makers. Like, it's such a weird thing to be carrying. And the guy's like strolling with it like, ha, I'm doing my job. And I looked and I was like, I like this scene, but I don't like that. So there's that.
That's interesting to say that, because we have been to numerous Star Wars conventions and we've seen people carry around. This is reference to Empire Strikes Back. There's when in Cloud City, when people are running, there's a guy who's carrying like an important piece of technology and stuff too. But actually, at the time, it was an ice cream maker that they just redressed, and it has become a whole meme.
And it becomes a thing.
Yes. Yeah, like even at Star Wars Celebration, there's like the running of I can't remember the character's name at the moment, but that they came up with. But we're never really going to have that level of fan commitment with the Marvel things, just because there's so much of it.
Right.
So like you have that thing where you can have it, like there is literally like a marathon thing of a bunch of people dressed as this character carrying this recreation of this thing, but you're never going to have that with Marvel just because there's so much extra content. So it's interesting the level of depth.
Unless we start that right now with extension cord, man.
Right?
Come on.
We have to have a Marvel character generator to like come up with his name, and then and using the Stanley method, it'll have to have the same first letter. So
can you imagine if we just all got a bunch of people together in like the basic ATF? This looks like your generic ATF, right? Like ensemble.
Yeah.
With this little extension cord carrier, and everybody went to Comic-Con and they were like, hey, and everyone's like, who are you? We're that guy in minute 47 of Iron Man 3.
I crossed in front of the camera.
Oh my God! Okay.
Remember me?
Yeah.
Pepper was sitting right over there.
No, I don't mean to besmirch this scene is gorgeous. Yes, it is actually a great shot.
Yeah, she's because at this point, Pepper thinks Tony's dead. Like she didn't see it. All she saw was him fall into the water, and then the whole house falling on top of him.
Right.
She's mourning Tony.
Which, by the way, I had not realized until this time. No spoilers. You're gonna be going along with us on the journey. This inverse happens later in the movie. The moment and there is a huge development. I had forgotten the development of the relationship between Tony and Pepper in this movie, and it is sort of bookended with, I think the other person's dead.
Yeah.
So this is the first one of that. We'll get to the other one.
So Pepper then looks down and sees one of the Iron Man helmets. Now, as I looked at this one, I couldn't tell or something because it was from one of the 6, like and obviously it wasn't like the first 2, so it had to be like 2 through 3, 4. I'll say 4 was the suitcase suit. So one of the other ones. So we'll just
assume it's 3. I think it's 3.
That makes most sense. So she pulls the helmet from the Mark III, and it has a huge slash through the faceplate of it, and then she lifts it up and then puts her forehead against it, which, as Rob was mentioning, is a shot we will see again.
Yes,
but not with her. And so she sees, and then as she flips the helmet around, she sees inside there is a red flashing light. And so this I thought was a neat effect too, is that when she then flips it around, it actually expands to like go over her head and then compresses back down, which we have seen in some of the other ones, but not in these ones before. So it actually does sort of open a little bit and then closes back down her head. And that is when it does facial recognition, and we hear the voice of the Stark secure server, retinal scan verified. And then you see her, like Pepper's picture come up in the heads up display. And that's, and once again, it's like the sort of the thumbnail of Tony, I think is the same picture. It's the same, like from Iron Man 2 image that comes up as him, and then it delivers the message that we started hearing him recording on the payphone in a couple of minutes ago. I've got a lot of apologies to make and not a lot of time. I'm sorry, put you in harm's way, all that. So he goes, and then that's when Pepper starts crying because that's when she finds out that Tony is still alive.
By the way, okay, that effect, that's an incredibly cool, what looks to be a practical effect when she's putting the helmet on. That's really cool where you actually do see it like kind of spider web, like it goes big. You see all the little lighting. It's a really, really neat moment that, my God, it's on screen for 3 seconds.
Right. This makes me think it probably was like the Mark 6 then, because those
would have been the
3.
Sort of that's right.
Because the 3 still had it was still the faceplate coming out.
Correct.
This actually having the compression. So let's say that in the Mark 4 is where that's the suitcase suit, right? Is it the 4 or is it the 5?
That's the 5.
Okay, that's probably where that technology started, because that's all the little segments.
You're right. So this got to be the 6.
This is probably the 6, yeah.
But okay, totally awesome effect.
The kind of nerdy minutia you get on the Marvel Movie Minute.
And also kudos to the prop masters, because again, that's for 3 seconds and it's really cool. And we appreciate it. Okay, and obviously she's excited to see. Gwyneth Paltrow does a great job here of emoting all of this on just a full frame, your face.
As an actress, that's got to be weird.
Yes.
Because the camera's got to be maybe a foot away from you.
Right.
You're probably in like a black box on your shoulders.
Because you're getting all the shadows. They'll put in the stuff later on. I'm sure they'll grade it and everything. But also, she has this very short moment to show this beautiful emotional arc that not only is he alive, but he's saying all the right things.
Yes.
Which is great. Good job, Tony.
Yeah. So we go from that. It's a hard cut here, but cuts immediately from that to Pepper driving Maya home. Now, Pepper's just been through a lot. I mean, Maya has as well, but Pepper's just been through a lot. Why isn't she being driven? Like, this is the thing I don't understand about Stark Industries. I know you're going to say Happy's in the hospital. True. You're telling me there is no one on the Stark payroll that could come out and drive her wherever she wanted to go?
Not that can be trusted.
Oh, you think she's already... Maybe this was Maya's idea?
Well, no, I think this is Pepper. Okay, so one of the things I do really like about this is you get that moment where she's happy that Tony's alive. He says all the right things. And one of the things you can see in her face, and this is really, again, kudos on the acting.
Yeah.
There is a resolve that you see develop in her face. And it cuts immediately. The reason why that hard cut is because then as soon as you get into that car, Pepper's in, I'm Team Tony. We're going to figure out what the hell's going on here. And I think that is awesome.
Yeah, because obviously Maya did not get to deliver whatever information she wanted to.
So you see determination, you see the resolve, you see I'm not messing around with you with Pepper. And I think that is, to answer your question, is no, I think she's like, okay, I don't know. No, everyone's off the grid now. So we're just going to do what we got to do. So I do like that. I like that Pepper, this strong Pepper. Great.
Right, because we cut immediately to she has the next line and she says, why were you at the house tonight? What was so important that you had to speak to Tony? Mm-hmm. And that's actually where minute 47 comes to an end. So as we roll in minute 48, Maya answers, I think that my boss is working for the Mandarin.
Ooh.
So if you still want to talk about it, I suggest we get ourselves someplace safe, which is, they're saying this in the car. So they're already going, I would assume, someplace safe. And Pepper says, your boss worked for the Mandarin, you think? She does it much better delivery than I did. But Tony says, you're a botanist. So, and then immediately just goes, that figures. What I actually am is a biological DNA coder running a team of 40 out of a privately funded think tank. But sure, you can call me a botanist. There's, you know what? Respect.
Yes.
Stand up for yourself. Yeah, like a botanist, sure.
And don't you know your boyfriend better than that? How he minimalizes things. It's more complicated than that.
And Pepper says, this boss of yours, does he have a name? Maya says, yes, Aldrich Killian.
Oh my
Pepper
God.
Turns like they're in shock. Okay. In the commentary, they talk about the fact that this used to be a 3-minute scene. There was a ton of character between the two of them, developing a camaraderie, friendship. There was a ton of exposition, all this stuff, and they didn't have any time. They had to cut it off, so it's literally just 30 seconds long. So we are missing 75% or more of what actually happened in this. They never said what exactly it was, but a lot of stuff happened in there. And even Shane Black says there's one shot of Pepper like that. He said the Gwyneth Paltrow did not deliver the really line he wanted or in the way he wanted. He's like, I really didn't like that take, but it was the only take they had where her face was pointing the right direction so that there was continuity between when they cut back to Maya. So they had to use the thing they didn't want, a delivery they didn't want, just because literally her face, because she was constantly looking over it, her face was in the wrong direction. So it's like movie making people.
Okay. One, thank God that everybody has the same problems everyone has, no matter who you are with editing. Number two, okay, when you just told me that story, that sounds a little bit like if you're a director and you're not getting the shot, you keep shooting until you get the shot. I wonder if somebody on that day was like, "No, we're not going to film this anymore. You have what you need." I'm kidding. However, that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting that came up in commentary. Yeah. Wait a minute. That would have changed the entire character relationship.
Yeah. Because there's very little between the two of them.
Well, no, and not only that, the very little that you have, the tone that you're left in the final cut of the movie is it's standoffish, it's concern, there is suspicion. Yeah. Like that would be a totally different thing.
Yeah, because I mean, okay, so let's sort of back. Okay, we're going to be talking, I think, along the way about like the plan and what is really going on and stuff. So let's take a step out of this as the minute is still going on, but we go to someplace new, which we'll have a lot to talk about.
Sure.
But okay, so at this point, Maya can't get her thing to work. She can't get Extremis. Like she invented Extremis. She can't get it to work. There's something wrong with it. She knows Tony can help her. So she's at the house legitimately to get Tony's help. Is that correct? Is that what your interpretation of her thing? Or is she there under the orders of the Mandarin to bring Tony into the fold?
Oh, okay.
Was it just bad timing in terms of like
based on
the two arms of the Mandarin like we're converging at the wrong point?
Okay, so based on what we know as a viewer,
yeah, exactly what we know so far,
linearly in this movie
I know
right now.
We're going forward and backward.
No, I understand. So we kind of already know that. Yeah, the Extremis is not working out correctly. Yes. We've now seen this multiple times, right?
Right. Protagonist.
Is she coming for his help? Because I guess it's two things. Either you can assume what I think the assumption that the movie is trying to portray is she knows that her boss is up to no good and she needs help to stop him.
Yeah. From Pepper's perspective, Maya's a whistleblower.
Yes, that is correct. That's what I think she was trying to make Tony think, and that would be supported by the fact that the house got blown up while she was in it.
Yeah, right.
That fair? That's what happened.
Okay, so but you think that like Maya's like she didn't know the attack was coming. Like, she was unaware. This is what I want to get to. Like what did her perspective then?
Now in reality, what did she know?
Sure. Either way, what is like, you know, from we know that she's complicit in this, for that she is 100% working for the man and knows it, like she is.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like this at this point, you know, we're not going to we'll get into all that stuff as when that revelation comes out. But like from her perspective, like she went there legitimately to get Tony's help, did not know that the attack was coming out the same day, because we're going to learn in the next minute or two, there is a lot of compartmentalization within the Mandarin's organization.
I honestly feel like I will have a better answer later in the movie.
Yeah.
Because right now, based on as a viewer, that it is, she's trying to be the whistleblower. She's wrong place, wrong time. Yeah. This happened. Right. I think there's something much more nefarious.
And speaking of nefarious, we cut to Aldrich Killian. So Aldrich is on the phone and he's talking to Savin. So Savin apparently, probably because the reception is really good, is not still in the helicopter. Before we get into their conversation, I should say that this what we're seeing is called the Villa Vecchia Mansion, which is also in Miami. That was what is all the interiors for Killian's there. So this is a practical location. This is not something they actually built. They found this place and then set decorated it. So it is still up there. So you can still, it's at time of recording, it still exists. So Savin is you hear him. He says, "Well, we took down the house, sir," which is true. Like, you mean he did? Killian says, "Mm-hmm." And Savin says, "But there's no sign of a body." So that does go back to what we talked about before. He did look like the movie makes it seem like he was like, "Job well done, boys. Beer's on me." Like they head out, but it turns out no, they did sort of look around and wait and do, or maybe use some of those little sensory things that we saw that they're doing, the night vision-y kind of stuff, to see what was under the water, and they did not. So there's no sign of a body. And Killian is not pleased about this, but says, "I see." So he says, "No, Stark." And Killian says, "I have to go." And he gets up from his chair and then walks down things. So he does a little West Wing sort of one shot, as in following him through all these different things. He says, "The master's about to record it. He's a little, well, you know how he gets. Keep your appointment tonight and call me when it's done." Okay. So here we go. Now we're talking about something else. Compartmentalization. It seems like we're finding in the organization, not everybody knows everything that's going on. So that conversation, does Savin know about Trevor?
Oh, at this point, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, right.
Like, what do you think? Like, is Savin under the impression that the Mandarin, like that Trevor is the Mandarin? And because I mean, obviously he knows that he's been to the house, so like he knows it's a set and all that kind of thing. But we know there is a criminal organization, there is a mastermind, there is, terrorism-ish.
Oh, I would think
Savin knows, because how he gets could mean a couple different things. It could be like, we don't want anybody to die because he's going to be, or it could be, man, like I just got him sober. Like I got to get him recording fast, or else.
But I will tell you this: as this scene unfolds, one of the things that you see is like, even though it's a set and he's going to walk through this all right now, right? It still looks serious. The actions of everyone. I mean, either everyone's
real
the greatest. Guns. Yeah, no. Either everyone's the greatest method actor, or this is all a facade.
Right.
But it's no. I think
everybody that works there thinks Trevor is the Mandarin.
This is exactly. Aldrich is an assistant. You should be scared, right? Totally get that. Savin probably does know, only because he's the closest to what's really going on.
Yeah, that's kind of that. So yeah, as we're going through, he switches into producer mode and says, "All right, everybody, no talking and no eye contact unless you want to get shot in the face." So as he's going through, we see sort of the production thing like going on. The set is there where it has all the accoutrement. But before we get to that, there's a video display of like where they're going to shoot it and edit it. So there is actually lines for a digital teleprompter. And it says, "But I assure you, he will take the last dose of medicine, ... even if I have to give it to him myself." We don't hear this ever. So like this little piece is not part of anything that we get to hear later on. So this is another one of the propaganda videos, but this is not part of the thing later on. So either it's another video that we don't get to see, or a piece of one that we don't get to see, or they did it and then it was cut from the edit.
Right.
So I think this part of the movie, I think more for me than anything else, I really feel the strong editing shears in effect.
Oh, right.
From obviously I would know that there was more of that to the Maya and Pepper scene, but from here on out, I really feel a lot of like, ooh, there should have been something there, or like, oh, this is a weird jump from one place to another. Or
when you read that, which by the way, I mean, that if said, "But I assure you, he will take the last dose of medicine, even if I have to give it to him myself." Right? Like I can see him saying that. Who's he talking about?
The president.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So maybe that's even just there. And it's big enough to where you'd read it in the theater, right? Like the first time you'd see this, you'd know it. So you'd see what that's going on. When you watch this, trying to think of what it was like when you first saw it. What are you thinking at this moment?
Yeah, I was trying to pull myself back there, because that was the thing is knowing it was now a set. Like that was the thing. It was sort of like, oh, like we know that this is, we know that this is not in the middle of the desert or whatever. I mean, like, it's not in a cave. It's not,
Right.
I mean, it really is. I'm like, oh, it's a set. Like, that was, I remember that being a big thing of like, oh, there's something more going on here. But I still was like, Ben Kingsley is playing the Mandarin.
No, exactly. And I think it makes a good case. Like, all you see at this point is that, oh, wow, it's deception. This whole thing is deception.
Yeah, that there's more going on here than we had thought.
I will say that they've done a good job as we get closer and closer to the big reveal later on, that this is done well, because it's still it's high tense situation, and it's done well enough to where you never see it coming. Yeah. So I do give them credit. I think this is great.
Yeah. So on the set, we see an AK-47 sitting off the side, and then we see blue helmets. So the military, these blue helmets are actually the ones that are worn by the UN peacekeepers. Right. So that is very much of a statement, and that is where minute 48 comes in. In 49, we have a caravan of people arriving in a 1986 Mercedes-Benz S-Class and a Land Rover Range Rover Series 2, which is not the same vehicle that Savin was driving Killian away in. As they're walking through the big entourage and heavy music playing, we have a credited as Mandarin Lookout. He says, "The master is traveling," into his earpiece. This is John Edens. He has 57 acting credits on IMDb. He got his start on In the Heat of the Night in 1993. Oh. Remember that?
Yeah.
He's been on The Sopranos. He's been on Star Trek Enterprise. He was on 24. But currently he's probably best known for Bosch, where he plays Wash. So he plays Wash on Bosch. And still, I'm a disappointment to my father because I've never watched Bosch.
Yeah, neither have I.
So the Mandarin arrives. He sits down. He looks over at Killian, and he says, "Well, then, what are we waiting for?" Like this. Okay, you know what? Big respect to Trevor at this point. That now that we know this thing, like, he is in character. Like, he is, from the moment that door opens in the car, and probably the whole ride over, he is method. He is full on committed.
No, dude, we're talking deep Jim Carrey, Man on the Moon.
That's right.
Like, Man in the Moon. Man, did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
the Andy Kaufman. You get it.
Yep. Yeah. And with his little man bun at the top.
Oh yeah.
All right. So then we cut back to Rose Hill, Tennessee. Tony and Harley are walking in the town. So this is Church Street in Rose Hill, North Carolina. This is a real place, but all of the businesses were defunct. So this was all the stuff was built. So everything you see were real places, but none of these businesses actually existed, and there were no lights or any of that kind of stuff. So they put on all of that stuff. They built it all up to be a regular metropolis, and obviously they didn't shoot in the winter, so they had to add the snow and all of that. So all this is movie magic. So Harley's walking around with somebody I don't recognize at all, because he's wearing this impenetrable disguise that we have learned in the Marvel Cinematic Universe makes it so no one recognizes you. That's right. That's actually, I know this is going to blow your mind, that's Tony Stark in that ball cap.
By the way, that baseball cap is trashed.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that was left when Harley's dad got out of town. So this is not the beginning of it, but this will be something we'll see through the rest of the MCU, is put on a ball cap, immediate disguise. Tony says the sandwich was fair. So he did get a sandwich. Yay. The sandwich was fair. The spring was a little rusty, and the rest of the materials I'll make do.
So he got everything.
You got everything. He said, by the way, when you said your sister had a watch, I was kind of hoping someone would learn more than that. So he pulls his sleeve up, and there is the Dora the Explorer.
There we go.
Digital watch. And then they make him think a bit like, oh, it's she says, and Harley says she's 6. Anyway, it's limited edition. I was like, that ain't not limited edition. Like,
no, it's not. Though, let me tell you this: if you do the deep dive on Reddit, and you should look up this watch, you will find images of the packaging of this exact watch in packaging. It's almost impossible to find the one, and this one is okay. There's only like about 500 different Dora the Explorer watches that have ever been released, especially during the early 2000s. This one, though, is very hard to find, and what I mean is that around the dial of it is this like sort of translucent, sort of gem-like plastic. That's like a rare one. So I'm sure if you were to ever find one on eBay, it would go for like $50.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure because, for cosplayers even, like that would be.
Yes.
It hardly then immediately pivots in the middle of that thing after saying limited edition. When can we talk about New York? And Tony says, maybe never. Relax about it. Harley says, what about the Avengers? Can you talk about them? And Tony says, I don't know, later. Like he's clearly trying to put this kid off. So as we roll into minute 50, he's already starting to have a bit of a reaction. He said, hey, kid, give me some space. So they go down this alleyway to see the scene where the event has happened, that Chad Davis's death. So what I find interesting about this is I actually went on Google Maps and looked. This is not an alley. This is a real street. They built that wall. So this is a real street. And they just, everything you see that's blocked off, including the sign that says alleyway or do not enter. That's all movie magic. They built all that stuff fake. So all the stuff on the walls, all that is constructed by the set decorators. So kudos to them, because I would never have thought that this was an actual functioning street that they just closed on. So they look over the site and you see all the memorials, the flowers, and crosses and stuff put up, and the shadows. And so Tony says, "What's the official story here? What happened?" And then Harley says, "There's a guy named Chad Davis used to live roundabouts," which I like that word. Won a bunch of medals in the army. One day, folks said he went crazy and made a bomb. Then blew himself up right here. So let me see them looking over the stuff. Tony says 6 people died, right? Harley says, yeah, including Chad Davis. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. Think about it. 6 dead, only 5 shadows. And Harley says, yeah, people said these shadows are like the mark of souls gone to heaven, except the bomb guy, he went to hell on account of he didn't get a shadow. Whoa. Wow. Okay, man. Jeez, things got real dark here.
Hold on a second.
That's literally where the ends.
Yeah, that's it. By the way, okay, warm and fuzzy feelings now. Today. Wait a minute. I have a couple questions here.
Sure.
Number one, you see the space. Like even when I first saw this in the movie, and also, by the way, you could, I'm sure there's people out there that would have a field day with the religious connotations here of this. Sure. Because one, you've had people that talk about that's a theme that appears in many different religious traditions. The one that's interesting is that if he's trying to say, oh, they leave, their shadows are here. He didn't get a shadow because he went to hell. It'd be the opposite actually for a lot of religious orders, because the idea would be is that if you went to a heavenly afterlife of some kind, there are no shadows. You'd leave them here because it's pure light.
Yeah.
So right. So like you could just keep going down that. But wait a minute. What if it was just the guy who was holding the bomb was on the other side of the bomb?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, but I think it would would it have like stretched out behind? My thought is like they're probably in his shadow because it's probably every.
Well, no, but what I mean is like let's say those 5 people are on the one side of the bomb, but they're basically between the bomb and the walls.
Yeah.
The 6th guy is on the other side of the bomb. There's no, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't prove anything. Like, and the thing that kicks me about this is you would say to yourself, well, Rob, calm down. You'd have to have a real understanding of 3-dimensional space and have experience with playing with those 3-dimensional models of how crime scenes work. Tony doesn't have that.
Yes, he does. Yes,
he
early
just
on
did that.
He did.
What are you talking about? Like, no, like this part, I can seriously remember seeing this movie and just going, what? Like, what are you talking? That doesn't even make any sense. It still doesn't make sense to me here.
Well, one thing I will say is there's not a shadow of a doubt that you should become a member of True Story family. That's right. If you go to truestory.fm/join, you can become one of our members of our little secret society and help us keep making amazing content like this. We guarantee no nuclear explosions. Join us back here as we continue our walk through the beautiful Rose Hill, Tennessee. And as we get to minute 51, we will be there. Make sure you're there. Enough said.
Swiper, no swiping.